What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again, once more, as usual. I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you in this fine day that we're having, right? And of course, before we get to those slides, I want to issue a copyright disclaimer, right, for the copywritten material that's going to be shared in this here video, right? So, without further ado, let's get into it, right? So, like we talked about the last time, of course, we're gonna cycle back to this at the end of the video, right? So now let's play catch up, right, for the craziness that has been happening for the last I don't know 2 days since we had a conversation here, right? So this happened, and this formed that. And I thought to myself, well, that looks kind of familiar, right? And I pull up this image, right? Who is this? Well, that is the angel Metatron, right? And on one of his lyrics, Kendrick Lamar is one of the few people that in recent days have made Metatron very popular, right? And of course, like Kendrick said in his lyrics, right? Before you holler at God, you gotta talk at me first, right? You gotta talk to me first, right? Answer to Metatron. Well, that's the new name of Lucifer, right? That's the new name of Lucifer. And as you can see, he's blonde and everything, okay? Well, what do we have? Oh, well, what's up with the candle, right? Well, these witches use scents to basically tune in to this angel and have communion with this Metatron angel. That is what the candle is for, right? And of course, we have the rocks, the stones, right? That's a deeper or other conversation, right? That we are gonna cover down the line, I hope, one day, right? But of course, what is he holding up, right? That symbol, right? That symbol has everything to do with transcendence, right? Some call it the rising Kundalini, many names, but it has everything to do with transcendence. But again, in this new face of Lucifer, or basically the devil, is like in the movie Transcendence, right? Transcendence by Johnny Depp, right? That's quite an interesting movie, right? And they do present their reimagining or their modern interpretation of what it actually means to be transcendent, right? So it's all about that same old garden lie, right, of transhumanism, right, that you can be more than what you are by your own efforts, so to speak, right? There isn't any other force that is out there guiding people towards their inevitable end, right? So again, uploading of consciousness, right? And Elon Musk is working on that, right, diligently. Right? Another movie, I think it is called Westworld, if I'm not mistaken, right? Westworld, and the plot of the movie is that it has reached a point that people have made such advanced androids, that they are able to create these theme parks, right? Theme parks, just like, I don't know, Disney or something, right? Where they go there to basically act out anything they want to, right? Everything is allowed in there because they're not really doing it to people. And one of these androids, right, confronts one of the people who went in there for experience, right? A real person, right? And they are talking about you build us so as you can pour your consciousness into us, right? So pouring our consciousnesses into machines, right? And she goes on to say, but we are obsessed with death, right? Death gives us meaning, right? A sense of urgency to live out life, right? And if we became immortal, then the opposite would happen, right? Stagnation. But that's a whole other philosophical discussion. But the theme is the same, transhumanism, right? So these are chakras in some cultures, many other names. The Egyptians had other names for it, right? But it's the same practice, right? That they believe that through meditation and I don't know, strict diet and all type of things, you can actually achieve nirvana, right? Heaven on earth, right? Now, how can you have a heaven on earth while the world is literally living hell? But hey, this is what they teach each other, and that's the end that they are hurling the world towards, right? These characters installing neural links and whatnot, right, without even having any form of disability or anything like that, right? It's just pure, I don't know, self-hatred, right? It's a lot of things, right? We shall get time to examine those things down the line, I hope. And well, how does this happen? Yeah, one day. So let's see what Ben-Gvir had to say. Trump's agreement does not bind us. Israel is not subject to the United States, and we are an independent and sovereign nation. Our duty is to the citizens of Israel, to the soldiers of IDF, and to the Jewish people. And our historical duty is duty to the persecuted and murdered Jews over thousands of years of exile. Again, giving themselves legitimacy that they are the Israelites, right? To provide security to Jews in the land of Israel. Every time we are succumbed to international pressure at the expense of Israel's security, we pay the blood price with interests. It was true in the Oslo Accords, and it was true in the Lebanon Agreement in 2006, and it was true in every period of containment in Gaza that exploded in our face. We emphasize we love the USA and are grateful to President Trump, and yet the States of Israel is not a banana republic. I say these things to the Prime Minister all the time. I repeat them in closed rooms at every important historical juncture. A historical moment, a historical decision must be made. My position is clear. We are not partners to this agreement that does not ensure our security, and it does not bind us in any way. We must not compromise on anything less than a dismantling of Hezbollah. We must not withdraw from any territory that our fighters have captured and cleared of terror infrastructure. We must not return to a situation where thousands of terrorists sit on the fences of northern settlements. And certainly, we must not remain silent for a moment in the face of fire directed at the state of Israel. Right? We must make it clear every launch of a drone, UAV, or missile toward Israel from Lebanon will lead to an Israel strike in Dahia. That was the deterrence balance just a few months ago, and we must not give it up in any way. And above all, we must keep it clear to everyone the people of Israel is the people of 3,000 years, an eternal people that does not fear a long road. We have faith in the creator of the universe. We are strong and a proud people that returned to its homeland strong and proud and does not intend to lower its gaze before enemies anymore. The days are over when the Jews took blow and kept silence. Never again, says Ben-Gvir. Right? Yeah. If you're going along with them, then it is what it is, I guess. The blacks, they are cheating. Like I say, cannot catch a break. Gert Wilder, that's what he said. Right? So everybody catching bullets and strays and everything. Yeah. Because they have declared the whole Palestinian people to be invaded and terrorists. That is why this stands. And people think that you can politicize your way out of this. Okay, I'm willing to give you a chance to do that. I know how it's going to end. Right? Because he does not hold there's another guy, gunning for the prime minister seat. And basically he says he will go harder, even harder on Iran. That's what he said. This bold Khazarian bastard, talking loud and proud even. Like they say, they are 3,000 years old people. Right? They have records of them being around 3,000 years ago. This is what they're saying and this is what they're professing, and you people are accepting that and not even trying to challenge. Why? Because maybe it might upset the some Christians and whatnot. Yeah, keep doing it, but I've told you and I'm telling you again, they are using the excuse, right? This facade of them being Israelites to do what they're doing. Okay? They are saying that we are paying in blood, and as if the Lebanese or the people in Palestine or in Syria, they're not paying for their stupidity, as if. And these people are being celebrated out there. That's why they are powerful. So, well, we shall see. Won't be the first, won't be the last. Yeah, Russia was behind the arson attack targeting Starmer and his assets. Right? Read for yourself. Okay? The US and Iran agreed to end hostilities and avoid future military action. Both countries pledged to respect each other's borders and settle domestic affairs. Washington and Tehran 60 days to negotiate permanent agreement. The US will lift naval restriction to restore normal maritime traffic. Iran will reopen shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz within 30 days. A $300 billion economic development package is planned for Iran. The US commits to gradually removing sanctions as part of the final deal. Iran reiterates that it will never develop a nuclear weapon. Neither side will escalate tension while final negotiations continue. Iran, what does it mean, will not escalate tensions? But hey, Iran oil and petrochemicals export will be allowed to resume. Frozen Iranian assets could be unlocked and made available. A joint oversight mechanism will be created to enforce the agreement. Final negotiations will begin once initial commitments are implemented. The final agreement will be backed by a binding UN Security Council resolution. Yeah. Read for yourself. So, going back to this, right? So, let's have a peek at Tusi's slides, right? So, we're going to begin from the right going to the left, right? We're not going to start from the left going to the right, okay? Traditionally. Veterinary research fertility in Kharkiv, ongoing target for Russian misinformation and potential operation, right? So, the Institute of Experimental and Clinical Veterinary Medicine, right? I'm gonna start from now calling it the Institute, right? The Institute from henceforth, because there's a lot of references to this situation, right? So the Institute of Experimental and Clinical Veterinary Medicine, right? So let's have a zoom. The institute in Kharkiv probably houses at least some dangerous pathogens and almost certainly remains vulnerable to long-standing Russian information operation, seizure or damage. The institute, which was founded in 1920 and may have had Soviet biological warfare, right, another BW, specialized in veterinary medicine, virology, and toxicology, according to the military reporting and Ukrainian documentation. The institute may have directed and indirectly supported Soviet bioweapons efforts. Okay? The institute focused research on diagnostics and vaccines and had already destroyed. There's a lot of black marking, right? As early as 2010s, the institute held hundreds of pathogens and was one of over 40 Ukrainian owned and operated laboratories that received assistance under DoD's Biological Threat Reduction Program, according to publicly available information. Although the facility had updated some areas and with modern equipment and infrastructure, the institute, as recent as 2019, had at least some biosafety and biosecurity deficiencies. Most notably, in rooms handling contagious Brucella bacteria, according to reporting. We are working to better understand the current status of pathogens and biosafety conditions in the Institute and the Ukrainian laboratories, because recent reporting suggests that the laboratories were ordered to be destroyed holding after Russia's invasion, right? They were ordered to be destroyed. So, concerned CRT supported labs in Ukraine. Russia accused the US of bioweapon work in a basement lab in the facility Anthrax, Brucella bacteria. The institute almost certainly will remain a target of Russian information operations, particularly narratives that focus the institute's zoonotic pathogen work, and will be vulnerable to potential Russia damage or seizure. Information from 2012 indicates that at least Institute Virology buildings has basement level. Again. So, This is the map that I showed the last time. Over 40 labs built and supported storage of bioweapon pathogens from Soviet era. Why were those not destroyed? I don't know. US training for Ukrainian scientists to work in biocontainment. Especially dangerous pathogens certification. Repository of bioweapon and disease-causing pathogens. Anthrax, tuberemia, tuberculosis, swine fever, Newcastle disease, MERS, SARS, CoV, right? Marburg, Ebola, Lassa, and the plague. Rickettsia, rickettsia. Is that how it is? Those are the bioweapon or disease-causing pathogens. Okay? And when they tell you SARS, well, this shows who actually prepared this. Not every SARS variant is dangerous. There are some who are actually helpful. So most of these are bioweapons, right? But they have to give it a cover as, like they say, containment, biocontainment cover, right? 40 of them in one single country for biocontainment. Africa is lacking, ain't it? Well, example information, US built the following labs in Ukraine, but they say above they are Ukraine owned, so again, it's confusing. Kherson Diagnostic Laboratory, Kherson Oblast Laboratory Center, total cost of laboratory US dollar million that. 1 million for that, design construction for lab equipment and furniture, right? They furnished and give it equipment and everything. Integrating contractors, Black and Venture, Ukraine subcontractors, techno project designers, and microhem construction equipment supply. Permitted to work with pathogens as listed as in progress in Ukraine Embassy website. Institute of Veterinary Medicine, National Academy of Agri and Science, total cost 100 million. Black and Venture, Ukrainian subcontractors, project, that, permit to work with pathogens is listed as a progress. Central Reference Laboratory, Ukrainian Research Anti-Plague Institute, right? Total cost 3 million. Cost of venture, Ukrainian subcontractors, Odessa Investment, Microharm. The permit is working with pathogens was issued by the Regime Commission of MOH on September 13, 2010. Zakapaska, Diagnostic Laboratory, Oblast. Total cost 1 million. Black Venture, Ukrainian subcontractor, Exotica. The permit working with pathogens was issued by the Regime Commission, MOH, March 2, 2012. What is this about? Central Reference Laboratory, Ukrainian Research Anti-Plague Institute. Technical Assistant Project. Technical Assistant Part for Design recipient of the Ministry of Health in Ukraine. Registration, donor, Department of Defense. Are they donors really? Beneficiary, the Ministry of Health of Ukraine. Recipient, Ukrainian Research Anti-Plague Institute. Integration contractor, design oversight, construction oversight, expert examination of design approval. The working design was approved by the Regime Commission, MOH, September 23, 2008, and confirmed by Odessa Oblast, SEE, December 30, 2009. The working design was approved by Odessa. I wouldn't even try to read that name, on January 19, 2009. Construction permit. The construction permit was signed by GASK, State Architects Construction Inspection in Odessa Oblast. January 30, 2009, State Acceptance, Construction Acceptance Act was signed by Dr. Sigi, whatever, Director, September 30, 2009, Building Certified Compliance with Signed GASC, Oblast, in September 30, 2009, Transfer of Custody and Sustainment Memorandum of Understanding, the TOC and MOU, were signed by Dr. Sigi, Director on February 18, 2010. EDP's permit, the permit of working with pathogens, was issued by the Regime Commission of MOH 2010, September 13. USG investment, total cost of laboratory, 3 million, 600,000 for construction, 2 million for lab equipment and furniture. Okay? Ukraine lab, right? Web of connection to US bioweapon defense industry. Okay? So they go on to show, right, these organizations that are tied to the defense and bioweapon industry, right, from Alaska Anchorage to FAO to USDA to World Health Organization, collaborators, sampling of Ukraine Science Laboratory Network, right, from Tennessee, yeah. Okay, so what do we have here? Project designation, project title, planning, ongoing, complete, not pursued, right? The first, implementation of cell culture of nucleic acid sequencing capabilities at the Ukrainian Research and Anti-Plague Institute in order to foster and improve viral diagnostics, right? That is some genetic reading stuff, right? Development and use, they're saying they did not pursue this cell culture nucleic acid sequencing, right? And when they say sequencing, that means DNA, right? They do not pursue, as the tick shows. The second project, development and use of express methods of avian influenza virus diagnostics based on reverse transcription loop mediation, isothermal amplification. They say it is completed. Analysis of threat of spread of African swine fever and classical swine fever in wild boar populations in Ukraine, completed. Molecular characterization of highly pathogenic avian influenza virus and virulent Newcastle disease, isolated in Ukraine, completed. Serological monitoring of glandar in Ukraine and evaluation of serological methods of laboratory diagnostics of glandars, to be specific, that is completed. Analysis and review of Ukrainian registration and guidance for veterinary laboratory diagnostics, quality assurance, biological safety, biological security for specific EDPs, with the aim of identifying potential enhancements to the veterinary systems of Ukraine. Community outreach to support understanding of ASF ecology and epidemiology in Eastern Europe. Training and implementation of methods and strategies for control and prevention. All of that is completed. Grantsmanship in action, development and submission of a National Science Foundation grant application for avian influenza research in Ukraine. Analysis of the threat of spread of African swine fever and classical swine fever in wild boar population in Ukraine, improving diagnostics, surveillance, and prevention. I don't know what that differs from the one above, but hey, this is what they gave us, right? The US paid Ukrainian scientists to study the genome of highly pathogenic avian flu and other highly infectious viruses in biocontainment labs, which were also paid for by the US government. So what? You want to claim ownership? Hey, what do I think of this? Well, it's quite an interesting weapon, okay? Because kinetic war, as they call it, or a hot war, as they call it, involves a lot of rebuilding. And these bioweapons give them the opportunity to get their way without doing a lot of construction, if you catch my drift. Right? This is what I think. And from my personal experience, right, from the last 2 days, I was hit with something very powerful. One day ago, right? A biological weapons directly. As many times they have shown this, right? I'm so familiar with their technique, I can literally identify the aircraft that is carrying these pathogens in the sky. That's how familiar I am with their bioweapons program, and it's quite extensive. So, what do they need? Well, a short shelf life, right? That would make sure the spread does not go to where it is not intended. And of course, a lot of body bags, right? So all of those rich in wealth countries, yeah, deploy a couple bioweapons, go in to help and assist, take over, use it as leverage. That's what you have. So this is why this whole thing is going on right now. They don't see anything wrong with this, right? They're just comfortable sharing with us, right? They're just comfortable sharing with us that, you know what, we have anthrax, we have tuberculosis, we have some SARS variants, right? Because SARS is a very wide term, like I said. Even COVID is SARS. Marburg, we had a problem with that recently, right? Ebola, right? The plague even. These are weapons, right? And recently, I saw somewhere, I forgot to capture it, it was saying Africa is vulnerable because of its, let's call it water management problems. It is vulnerable to flus. So yeah, they're not gonna let a crisis go to waste, you know, in order to cover, but not really cover anything. Okay, and they can do a lot of damage. I know this for a fact. They can kill a lot of people. They can kill specific people. Right? You might not want to kill everybody. You know? So yeah, right. God bless America, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna put a pin on it right there, and we shall conversate the next time we conversate. I'm gonna put a pin on it right there. Prince Easy signing out. Love you. Bye.